What if Daenerys married Robb Stark? What if the dragon and the wolf united before the Red Wedding could tear them apart? Let us explore the depths of it in this video. Push the threshold, everyone. If this video reaches 5,000 likes, we shall release part 2. I need you to understand something fundamental about the War of the Five Kings. While Robb Stark and Daenerys Targaryen were crowned on the same day, in the same episode, separated by nothing but a seamed transition and an entire ocean, they never knew each other existed as potential allies. That single fact changed everything. Because on that day in late 298 AC, when Great Jon Umber declared, "There sits the only king I mean to bend my knee to, the king in the north," and when Daenerys Stormborn walked out of Khal Drogo's funeral pyre with 3 baby dragons clinging to her naked body, the pieces were on the board for an alliance that could have won the entire game. But the board was too large, the ocean too wide, and time, as always, was running out faster than anyone realized. Let me take you back to that moment. Robb Stark stands in his war camp, barely 16 years old in the books, maybe 19 in the show, and his bannermen are proclaiming him king. Not because he asked for it, because his father is dead, because Joffrey is a bastard born of incest, because the North has knelt to Southern kings for 300 years and has nothing to show for it but dead Starks and broken promises. The Great Jon rises, massive and loud, and the words tumble out like an avalanche. The king in the North. And every other northern lord rises and repeats it. The king in the north. Robb did not want this crown, but he wears it because duty demands it, because his father taught him that leadership is burden, not privilege. On the other side of the world, on the other side of the same episode, Daenerys Targaryen is 13 in the books, maybe 16 or 17 in the show, and she is walking into fire. Her husband is dead. Her son is dead. Her Khalasar has abandoned her. She has 3 petrified dragon eggs and a funeral pyre and nothing left to lose. So she walks into the flames, and the eggs crack, and 3 dragons are born for the first time in over a century. When she emerges at dawn, naked and unburnt, with baby dragons perched on her shoulders, she is no longer just a Targaryen in exile. She is the mother of dragons. She is a queen without a kingdom, but a queen nonetheless. The show cuts between these 2 moments deliberately. The king in the north is proclaimed. The mother of dragons is born. Fire and ice. 2 rulers rising at the exact same moment. And they will never meet. Never speak. Never even hear each other's names until it is far too late for either of them. That is the tragedy at the heart of this alternate history. Because if someone, anyone, had connected these 2 rulers in that narrow window between Robb's crowning and his death at the Red Wedding, everything changes. The entire war changes. The fate of Westeros changes. But it would take a miracle of communication, timing, and political will to make it happen. Let me show you why this matters. Let me show you the exact timeline that makes this both possible and heartbreaking. Robb Stark dies at the Red Wedding in 299 AC. The show places it in Season 3, Episode 9. The books place it in a storm of swords during the feast at the Twins. He is betrayed by Walder Frey and Roose Bolton. His pregnant wife is stabbed repeatedly in the belly. His mother's throat is cut. His direwolf Grey Wind is killed in his pen. Robb himself takes multiple crossbow bolts before Roose Bolton whispers, "Jaime Lannister sends his regards," and drives a dagger into his heart. The young wolf dies at 16 years old in the books, maybe 20 in the show. He won every battle he fought. He never lost on the battlefield. But he lost the war because he made one critical mistake. He married for love instead of duty. He broke his oath to marry a Frey. And oaths, in Westeros, are paid in blood. Now here is the detail that destroys me every time I think about it. When Robb dies at the Red Wedding, Daenerys is in Qarth, or maybe just leaving Qarth for Slaver's Bay. Her dragons are still small, maybe the size of large dogs. They can breathe fire hot enough to burn a man, but they cannot carry her weight. They cannot rain destruction on armies. Not yet. She does not have the Unsullied yet. That comes later, in Season 3, Episode 4, after Robb is already dead. She does not have the Second Sons, or the Dothraki Horde, or any of the military power she will eventually wield. She has about 100 loyal Dothraki who stayed with her after Drogo died. She has Ser Jorah Mormont. She has 3 baby dragons. And she has no way to get to Westeros even if she wanted to. But imagine, just imagine, if someone had reached out to Robb Stark in early 299 AC. If someone had said, "There is a Targaryen across the sea. She has dragons, real dragons. And she needs an army. and you need legitimacy beyond the north. What if someone had made that connection before Robb ever met Talisa Maegir? Before he broke his oath to the Freys? Before Tywin Lannister started planning the Red Wedding? That someone could only be Varys. Let me explain how this would actually work, because this is not some fantasy where ravens fly across oceans, or where Robb and Daenerys meet cute at a tavern. This is Game of Thrones. Communication takes months, trust takes longer, and every alliance requires someone pulling strings in the shadows. That someone is the Spider. Varys has a network that spans continents. His little birds sing in King's Landing, and in Pentos, and in the Free Cities, and even in the Dothraki Sea. When Daenerys was still with Drogo, Jorah Mormont was reporting her movements to Varys in exchange for a pardon. Varys knew about the dragon eggs, knew about the pregnancy, knew about Drogo's plans to invade Westeros. And after Drogo died and the Dothraki scattered, Varys knew that too. His network does not stop at the narrow sea. It crosses oceans, because knowledge is power and Varys collects knowledge like other men collect gold. So in late 298 AC, when the dragons hatch, Varys knows within weeks, maybe a month, his little birds in Qarth see the impossible, see the girl who walked into fire and emerged with dragons. And Varys, who claims to serve the realm, who claims to want peace and prosperity, sees an opportunity. The Dothraki invasion is dead. Khal Drogo is dead. Viserys is dead. But this girl has dragons. And across Westeros, 5 kings tear the realm apart in civil war. Varys does the math. Robert Baratheon is dead. Joffrey is a cruel boy with no claim to the throne. Stannis is rigid and uncompromising. Renly is playing at kingship with Loras Tyrell's support. And in the north, Ned Stark's son has been proclaimed king in the north. The boy is 16, green as summer grass. But he has won every battle. Captured Jaime Lannister. Broken the Lannister siege of Riverrun. The north follows him absolutely. The Riverlands follow him. He is young, but he is Ned Stark's son. And Ned Stark was the most honorable man in Westeros until Joffrey cut off his head. Varys sees the pieces. Robb Stark needs legitimacy beyond northern independence. Daenerys Targaryen needs an army and a way to Westeros. Put them together and you have something no one else in the War of the 5 Kings can match. You have the king in the north and the mother of dragons. You have ice and fire. You have the prophecy made flesh. But how do you connect them? How do you get a message from King's Landing to Qarth to Riverrun and back again? How do you convince a teenage king and a teenage queen that they should marry sight unseen based on political calculation? The answer is Illyrio Mopatis. Illyrio is Varys' partner in every scheme that matters. The fat magister in Pentos who hosted Daenerys and Viserys, who gave her the dragon eggs as a wedding gift, who has ships and gold and connections throughout the Free Cities. Varys sends word through his network. Illyrio receives it. And Illyrio, who has spent years planning Targaryen restoration, sees the same opportunity Varys does. Here is how it would work step by step. In late 298 AC, immediately after the dragons hatch, Varys' agents in Qarth send word west. The message travels by ship from Qarth to Pentos. Takes maybe 2 months. By early 299 AC, Illyrio knows about the dragons. He sends his own agents to make contact with Daenerys. Offers her ships, offers her supplies, offers her a way west, but not to invade, to negotiate, to form an alliance with the one king in Westeros who is not a Lannister puppet or a Baratheon pretender. Meanwhile, Varys works from King's Landing. He cannot contact Robb directly without revealing himself as a traitor, but he can make sure certain information reaches certain people. A word here about Targaryen dragons, a rumor there about a girl who cannot burn. He can plant the seeds. And then, through intermediaries, through merchants who travel north, through maesters who still remember their vows to serve the realm rather than their lords, he can get a message to Robb Stark. The message would be simple. A Targaryen lives. She has dragons. She seeks alliance, not conquest. She would recognize northern independence in exchange for military support. She would bring the Targaryen name and the symbol of dragons to legitimize any claim Robb wants to make. And all she asks in return is ships to cross the narrow sea and soldiers to fight the Lannisters who murdered her family, the same way they murdered his father. Robb receives this message in early 299 AC, before he meets Talisa, before he breaks his oath to the Freys. He is still winning every battle. still holds Jaime Lannister prisoner, still has the full support of his bannermen. He brings the message to his war council, to his mother, Catelyn, to the Great Jon, to the Blackfish, to Edmure Tully, and they debate. The Northern Lords are skeptical. The Targaryens are the enemy. The Mad King burned Rickard Stark alive, strangled Brandon Stark while forcing him to watch his father die. Aerys Targaryen murdered 2 generations of Starks and called it justice. Why would the North ally with a Targaryen? Why would they put a dragon queen on any throne after what the dragons did to their people? But Catelyn sees the bigger picture. She always does. She is pragmatic in ways Ned never was. She tells Robb to remember what his father told him about Torrhen Stark. The king who knelt. Torrhen Stark was king in the north when Aegon the Conqueror came to Westeros. He could have fought, could have made Aegon burn the north the way he burned Harrenhal. But Torrhen looked at the dragons and did the math. He knelt. He saved his people. And the north remained unconquered for 300 years because Torrhen was wise enough to know when he could not win. Catelyn tells Robb this is not the same situation, but the principle applies. Robb cannot defeat the Lannisters alone. He has won every battle, but the war grinds on. Tywin has more men, more gold, more allies. The north is strong, but it is not infinite. Eventually, the numbers will catch up to them. Eventually, they will lose. But with dragons? With a Targaryen queen who brings legitimacy and fire-made flesh? That changes everything. That makes victory possible. Robb asks the question that matters. What does she want? What does this Targaryen queen actually want from the north? The answer comes back through Varys' network. Daenerys Targaryen wants to go home, wants to reclaim her family's throne, but she is not her father. She is not her brother. She does not want to burn cities or break the wheel through blood and fire alone. She wants to be a queen that people choose to follow, and she will recognize Robb Stark as king in the north if he recognizes her as queen of the 7 kingdoms. A partnership, not conquest. The Great Jon hates it, hates every word of it. He did not proclaim Robb king just to have him kneel to a Targaryen. But the Great Jon is also practical. He asks how big the dragons are. The answer comes back. Small, the size of dogs. Not battle-ready yet. Maybe a year or 2 before they can carry a rider. Maybe longer before they can destroy armies the way Aegon's dragons did. But they will grow. That is the point. Dragons grow. In 5 years, in 10 years, these dragons will be weapons that no army in Westeros can stand against. And if Robb waits until then to make an alliance, it will be too late. Daenerys will not need him. She will take what she wants by force. But if he allies with her now, while she is still building her power, while she still needs an army to cross the narrow sea, then he can negotiate terms, can secure northern independence in perpetuity, can ensure that the Starks are never again subject to southern kings. Robb makes his decision. He agrees to the alliance. He agrees to marry Daenerys Targaryen sight unseen. It is the same calculation every noble house makes. Marriage is alliance. Love is irrelevant. Duty is everything. His father married his mother for duty after his brother Brandon died. It worked well enough. Perhaps this will too. But there is a problem. A massive, unavoidable problem. Robb is already promised to the Freys. The oath was sworn by his mother at the Twins. Robb must marry one of Walder Frey's daughters or granddaughters. His choice which? One. But the marriage must happen. That was the price for crossing the bridge. For the 4,000 Frey soldiers. For passage across the Green Fork when Robb needed it most. And Walder Frey is not a man who forgets oaths or forgives broken promises. Catelyn brings this up immediately. You are promised to a Frey. If you break that oath, we lose the Twins. We lose 4,000 men. We lose the Riverlands, because without the Freys we cannot hold the territory between the North and the Trident. Walder Frey will turn on us the moment he learns you married someone else. Robb knows she is right, but he also knows this alliance with Daenerys is too important to pass up, so he makes a counteroffer. He will not marry a Frey himself. But his uncle Edmure will. Edmure Tully is Lord of Riverrun, now that House Tully is dead. A marriage between Edmure and a Frey is almost as valuable as a marriage with Robb. It keeps the Freys bound to the alliance. It keeps the Twins under their control, and it frees Robb to marry Daenerys. Edmure is not happy about this. He is being traded like a broodmare. But Edmure also understands duty. He agrees. The betrothal is renegotiated. Messengers are sent to the twins. Walder Frey grumbles and complains and insults everyone involved, but he accepts. A Tully is almost as good as a Stark, and Edmure is young enough to give him grandsons with Tully blood. The oath is kept, just redirected. Now the real work begins. Getting Daenerys from Korth to Westeros, getting her dragons and her small Khalasar across the narrow sea, getting her to River Run where Robb waits. This is where Illyrio earns his place in the conspiracy. Illyrio provides ships. He is a magister of Pentos. He has trading contacts throughout the free cities. He charters enough ships to carry Daenerys, her Dothraki, her dragons, and whatever supplies she needs for the crossing. The journey from Qarth to Pentos alone takes months. Then from Pentos to White Harbor takes weeks more. Figure 3 to 4 months total travel time if the winds are favorable and no storms wreck the fleet. Daenerys makes the decision to sail west in mid-299 AC. She does not go to Slaver's Bay, does not conquer Astapor or Yunkai or Marine, does not acquire the Unsullied yet. That will come later, if it comes at all. Right now, she is focused on one thing: getting to Westeros, meeting this king in the north who has agreed to marry her, seeing if the alliance Varys and Illyrio promise is real or another betrayal waiting to happen. During the voyage, Jorah Mormont tells her everything he knows about the Starks. Jorah is from the north originally. He was Lord of Bear Island before he was exiled for selling poachers into slavery. He knows the northern houses, knows their customs, knows their honor codes. He tells Daenerys that the Starks are not like southern lords. They keep their oaths. They value honor above ambition. If Robb Stark swears to recognize her as queen, he will keep that oath even if it costs him everything. Daenerys wants to believe him, but she has been betrayed too many times. Her brother sold her to Drogo. The Qarthim tried to steal her dragons. The Warlocks tried to trap her in the House of the Undying. Everyone who promises to help her wants something in return. Why should this northern king be different? Jorah tells her about Ned Stark, about how Ned could have claimed the Iron Throne after Robert's rebellion, but gave it to Robert instead. How Ned served as Hand of the King, even though he hated King's Landing and its politics. How Ned confessed to treason to save his daughters, even though the confession was a lie. The Starks are not like other houses. They are not like the Lannisters or the Tyrells or the Greyjoys. They are not like the Targaryens either. They are something older. Something that still believes in honor, even when honor is a luxury no one else can afford. Daenerys listens. She thinks about her father, about the stories she has been told about the Mad King, about how Aerys burned people alive and called it justice, about how he murdered Rickard and Brandon Stark for no reason other than paranoia and cruelty. She is not her father. She does not want to be her father, but she is a Targaryen, and the Starks have every reason to hate her family. She asks Jorah if Robb will actually honor the marriage once he sees her. Once he realizes she is just a girl with small dragons and 100 Dothraki. Once he understands she does not have an army that can win the war for him tomorrow. Jorah tells her something important, something true. Robb Stark is not marrying her because she has an army. He is marrying her because she has dragons. Because dragons are hope. Because the North has been losing for 300 years and dragons are the only thing that can change the game entirely. Robb is making a long-term investment. He is betting that in 5 years, in 10 years, those dragons will be the most powerful weapons in Westeros. And he wants them on his side when that day comes. The fleet reaches White Harbor in late 299 AC, just weeks before the Red Wedding was supposed to happen in the original timeline. Lord Wyman Manderly receives them personally. He is shocked. The Manderleys are loyal Stark bannermen, but they were not informed about the Targaryen alliance until the ships actually arrived. Wyman looks at the teenage girl with silver hair, looks at the 3 dragons perched on the ship's masts, now the size of ponies and still growing, looks at the Dothraki warriors who move like water and fight like demons, and he understands. The game has changed. Wyman provides wagons and supplies for the journey from White Harbor to River Run. It takes 2 weeks of hard travel through the north. Daenerys sees snow for the first time in her life. Real snow. Not the false snow of the House of the Undying. The cold is shocking. The Dothraki hate it. They come from the dry seagrass plains. They are not built for winter, but they follow their Khaleesi because she is the one who walked into fire and brought dragons into the world. The dragons adapt better. They are creatures of fire, but the cold does not seem to bother them. Drogon, the black one with red eyes, is already the largest. He breathes fire that can melt snow 10 feet away. Rhaegal, the green one, flies ahead of the caravan and hunts sheep from the northern farms. Viserion, the cream and gold one, stays close to Daenerys like a loyal hound. They are still young, still growing, but they are undeniably dragons, and everyone who sees them understands that the age of dragons has returned. News spreads faster than Daenerys travels. By the time she reaches Riverrun, every lord in the north knows. The Targaryen girl has arrived. She brought dragons, real dragons, and she is going to marry the king in the north. The reaction is mixed. Some northern lords are horrified. The Manderleys and McLovers and the Mormonts remember what the Mad King did. Remember the screams of Rickard Stark burning in his armor. They do not want a Targaryen within 100 miles of Winterfell. But other lords are pragmatic. The Umbers and the Karstarks and the Boltons see the dragons and understand what they mean. They mean the Lannisters cannot win. They mean the war is effectively over if Robb plays this right. They mean the North will never kneel to Southern kings again because dragons are the ultimate veto. Rose's Bolton in particular is very interested. In the original timeline, Bolton betrayed Robb because Tywin Lannister promised him Winterfell and the wardenship of the North. But that offer only made sense because Robb was losing. Because the Red Wedding was a guaranteed way to end the Northern Rebellion without further bloodshed. But with dragons in play, Tywin cannot guarantee anything. Dragons change calculations. They make betrayal suicide. So Bolton stays loyal, watches, waits, but does not move against Robb because there is no percentage in it anymore. Daenerys arrives at Riverrun in late 299 AC. The castle is secured. The Lannisters are pushed back. Robb has won every battle and now he has dragons to ensure he will win the war. He waits in the Great Hall of Riverrun with his mother and his bannermen. The Blackfish, Edmure Tully, dozens of northern lords, all of them watching as the doors open and Daenerys Stormborn walks in. She is younger than Robb expected, 16 or 17. Small, almost fragile looking. Silver gold hair braided in the Dothraki style, purple eyes that have seen too much death. She wears travel-stained riding leathers and a wool cloak against the cold. She does not look like a queen. She looks like a girl who has been running for her entire life. But behind her, framed in the doorway, are the dragons. Drogon perches on her shoulder, his wings spread, his eyes like red coals. Rhaegal and Viserion flank her on the ground, their heads level with hers, their tails curling around her legs. And when the dragons move, fire drips from their mouths like molten gold. Every man in the hall stops breathing. Robb stands. He is 16 in the books, maybe 19 or 20 in the show. Tall, red-brown hair, blue eyes like his mother. He wears a crown of bronze and iron shaped like swords. He has his father's face, the honorable face, the honest face. Daenerys looks at him and thinks, this is the man I will marry. This is the alliance Varys promised. This is the king in the north. Robb speaks first. He welcomes her to Riverrun, welcomes her to the north, tells her that the north remembers what was done to her family, remembers that her father was mad and cruel, but also remembers that she is not her father, that she walked into fire and emerged with dragons, that she is the mother of dragons and that means something to people who still believe in the old magic. Daenerys responds carefully. She thanks him for the welcome, thanks him for the alliance, tells him that she knows the North has no reason to trust Targaryens, that her father committed atrocities, that the dragons her ancestors rode burned people who did not deserve to burn. But she is not here to conquer. She is here to make an alliance between equals. She will recognize him as king in the North if he recognizes her claim to the Iron Throne. They will fight the Lannisters together, and when the war is won, the North will be independent, and the South will have a Targaryen queen who remembers that power is responsibility, not privilege. The Northern lords murmur among themselves. This is not what they expected. They expected a conqueror, a second Aegon. Instead, they have a teenage girl who talks about partnership and mutual respect. It is almost more unsettling than fire and blood would have been. Catelyn asks the question everyone wants answered. What about marriage? The alliance is political, but marriage makes it permanent. Marriage means children. Children with Stark blood and Targaryen blood. Children who will unite the North and the South in ways that oaths and treaties cannot. Daenerys looks at Robb. She does not love him, does not know him, But love is a luxury she has never been able to afford. She loved Drogo, and he died. She loved her son, and he died. Love in Westeros is a weakness that gets you killed. But alliance? Alliance, she understands. Alliance is how you survive when you are small and powerless and surrounded by enemies. She agrees to the marriage, not because she wants it, because it serves her goals, because a Stark husband gives her legitimacy in Westeros, because Robb is honorable, and that means he will keep his word even when keeping it is difficult, and because the alternative is trying to conquer Westeros alone with 3 small dragons and 100 Dothraki. That is a long road with no guarantee of success. This way is faster. This way has better odds. The wedding is planned for a week later, just enough time to prepare a feast, to send ravens to all the northern houses, to let word spread throughout Westeros that the king in the north and the mother of dragons are marrying. The realm reacts with shock. King's Landing is thrown into chaos. Tywin Lannister receives the news and immediately cancels the Red Wedding plans. You do not betray a man with dragons on his side. You negotiate, you stall, you find another way. The wedding takes place in the Godswood at Riverrun, not in a sept. Daenerys is not a follower of the Seven. Robb worships the old gods like all Starks do. They stand before the heart tree. Robb cloaks Daenerys in stark colors, gray and white. The direwolf sigil, she cloaks him in Targaryen colors, black and red, the 3-headed dragon. They speak their vows before the old gods and before the gathered northern lords, before the dragons who watch from the branches of the heart tree, like ancient guardians. When they kiss to seal the marriage, Drogon breathes fire into the sky, a column of flame that lights up the Godswood like daylight. Every person watching understands what they are seeing. This is not just a political marriage. This is a symbolic moment, ice and fire, Stark and Targaryen, the 2 great houses that should have been enemies but are now bound by marriage and shared purpose. The feast afterward is tense. Northern lords and Dothraki screamers do not mix well. The Dothraki do not understand why these northerners eat with tiny metal forks instead of their hands. The northerners do not understand why the Dothraki get louder and more aggressive as they drink. But everyone behaves because the dragons are in the hall. Drogon perches on a rafter above the high table. Rhaegal and Viserion curl near the hearths. And no one wants to be the first person to anger a dragon. Robb and Daenerys sit at the high table and try to make conversation. It is awkward. They do not know each other, do not have shared history or inside jokes or any of the things that make marriages bearable. But they are both smart. Both understand that this marriage is a tool, a weapon, a way to win the war and secure their respective goals. So they talk strategy, talk about the Lannisters, talk about how to use the dragons once they are large enough to ride into battle. Daenerys asks Robb about the Red Wedding that never happened. She heard through Varys' network that Walder Frey and Roose Bolton were planning to betray him, that they were going to murder him and his mother and his pregnant wife at a wedding feast. She asks if he knew, if he suspected. Robb admits that he did not know, that he trusted too much, that he thought keeping his word to marry a Frey would be enough. But he understands now that in Westeros, oaths mean nothing to men like Walder Frey. They only respect power. And dragons are power that cannot be negotiated or betrayed. Frey will never move against them now because dragons can burn the twins to the ground in an afternoon. Daenerys tells him about the House of the Undying, about the visions she saw there. She saw the throne room of the Red Keep covered in snow and ash, saw a burned and abandoned Iron Throne, saw her dead husband and her dead son one last time. She does not know what the visions mean, does not know if they are prophecy or metaphor, or the warlocks playing with her mind. But she knows that her path leads to that throne room, to the Red Keep, to claiming what her family lost. Robb asks if she will be a good queen, if she will be just and fair, if she will listen to counsel or rule through fear like her father did. Daenerys does not answer right away. She thinks about Mirri Maz Duur, about burning the witch who killed her son, about killing the Qartheen who tried to steal her dragons, about all the times she has chosen vengeance over mercy. She is not sure if she will be a good queen, but she knows she will try. That has to be enough. The wedding night is private. They go through the motions because the marriage needs to be consummated. But there is no passion, no romance, just 2 teenagers doing their duty. Afterward, they lie in bed and talk about the war, about strategy, about how to use dragons and northern soldiers together. It is not love, but it is partnership. And in Westeros, partnership is often more valuable than love. News of the marriage spreads across Westeros within weeks. King's Landing reacts with panic. Cersei wants to send assassins, wants to kill Daenerys before the dragons grow any larger. Tywin forbids it. Assassinating a dragon rider is a good way to ensure the dragons burn everything you own in retaliation. Instead, Tywin tries diplomacy. He offers peace terms, offers to recognize northern independence if Robb will abandon Daenerys' claim to the Iron Throne. Robb refuses. The alliance is sealed by marriage and blood. He will not betray his wife the way Walder Frey wanted him to betray the Freys. The North keeps its oaths. That is what separates them from houses like the Lannisters who change loyalties based on convenience. The war continues, but the momentum has shifted. The dragons are still small, but they grow every day. Robb's armies win battle after battle because the Lannister forces are demoralized. They are fighting an enemy that will have dragons within a year. Fighting an enemy that has already won, they just do not know it yet. Tywin understands this. He is the smartest military mind in Westeros. He knows when a war is lost, so he pivots. He makes an offer. A grand council. All the kingdoms send representatives. They negotiate a new structure for the realm. Northern independence is on the table. Targaryen restoration is on the table. Even Lannister retention of certain holdings is on the table. Everything is negotiable except one thing. Joffrey must go. Joffrey is a monster. Everyone knows it. Even Cersei knows it, though she will never admit it. The boy king torments Sansa Stark for amusement. Has servants beaten for bringing him the wrong wine. Threatens to kill his own mother when she tries to counsel him. Tywin has spent 2 years trying to control his grandson and failing. The only way to save House Lannister is to remove Joffrey and replace him with Tommen. Tommen is younger, gentler, easier to control. But killing a king is tricky. Even a king as hated as Joffrey. It needs to look like an accident or an assassination by enemies. It cannot look like a Lannister operation or the whole house falls apart, so Tywin plans carefully. He uses Littlefinger, uses Olenna Tyrell, uses people who have their own reasons to want Joffrey dead. And at Joffrey's wedding to Margaery Tyrell, the boy king drinks poisoned wine and dies choking in front of everyone. Cersei blames Tyrion. Tyrion is arrested and put on trial, but the trial is a sham. Tywin needs a scapegoat, but he also needs his son to be found guilty without actually being executed. It is a delicate balance. Tyrion demands trial by combat. Oberyn Martell champions him against the Mountain. The fight goes as it did in canon. Oberyn is killed. Tyrion is condemned to death. But before the execution, Jaime helps Tyrion escape. Just like in canon, Tyrion flees King's Landing, but instead of going to Essos alone, he goes north to Winterfell to offer his services to the king in the north and the Dragon Queen. Because Tyrion is smart enough to know which side will win this war, and he has nowhere else to go, Robb is suspicious. Tyrion is a Lannister, the enemy. But Daenerys sees something in the dwarf, sees intelligence, cunning. A man who has been underestimated and abused his entire life. She knows what that feels like. She offers Tyrion a position as advisor. Robb reluctantly agrees because his wife's judgment has been sound so far. Tyrion becomes the bridge between the northern military tradition and the Targaryen approach to power. He teaches Robb about southern politics, about how to play the game without losing his honor. He teaches Daenerys about Westerosi history, about the mistakes her ancestors made, about how to rule without burning everything that opposes her. He is the balance they need. With Joffrey dead, Tommen becomes king. Tommen is 9 years old, gentle, kind, completely unsuited for the brutality of Westeros politics. Tywin becomes his hand and rules in his name. Tywin immediately seeks peace, offers generous terms. The North gets independence. Daenerys gets the Iron Throne. The Lannisters keep Casterly Rock and the Westerlands. The Tyrells keep the Reach. Everyone who bent the knee to Joffrey is pardoned. No executions. No attainders, just peace. But there is a catch. Daenerys must marry again. Must take a southern husband to legitimize her rule. Tommen is too young, but there are other options. Loras Tyrell, Edmure Tully, even Tyrion Lannister, if she is willing to overlook his family name. Daenerys refuses. She is already married to Robb Stark. She will not set aside that marriage for political convenience. The alliance between the North and the Targaryens is not negotiable. If the South wants peace, they accept her terms, not the other way around. Tywin does the math. He has no dragons. No way to win a military conflict once the dragons are battle-ready. His best commanders are dead or disgraced. His grandson Joffrey was so hated that half the realm celebrated his death. His daughter Cersei is spiraling into paranoia and alcoholism. His other son Jaime lost his sword hand and is no longer the fighter he was. His dwarf son Tyrion has defected to the enemy. House Lannister is not what it was. The lions are old and tired, and the dragons are young and hungry. Tywin accepts the peace terms. The realm is divided. The North is independent under King Robb Stark. The South is unified under Queen Daenerys Targaryen. Robb and Daenerys remain married but rule separate kingdoms. It is an unusual arrangement, but Westeros has never been usual. The compromise works because both sides get what they want. Robb gets northern independence. Daenerys gets the Iron Throne. The Lannisters get to survive with their wealth and lands intact. The dragons grow. Within 2 years, they are large enough to ride. Daenerys bonds with Drogon. She flies for the first time and understands why her ancestors conquered Westeros. There is no feeling like it. The world spreads below you like a map. You are a god riding the wind. Everything that seemed impossible on the ground is easy from Dragonback. She flies to Winterfell to visit Robb. The North sees a dragon in their skies for the first time in 300 years. Some people are terrified, others are awed. But everyone understands that the age of the Starks and the age of the Targaryens are now intertwined. The two houses that should have been enemies are now the two strongest powers in Westeros. Robb and Daenerys have their first child in 300 AC. A boy. They name him after both their fathers, Eddard Targaryen in the south, Eddard Stark in the north. The child has dark hair like Robb and purple eyes like Daenerys. He is the song of ice and fire made flesh. The prince that was promised if the prophecies are real, or just a child if they are not. Either way, he is the future. The bridge between North and South, between Stark and Targaryen, between ice and fire. But the dragons bring new problems. The Reach suffers dragon attacks. Not from Daenerys' dragons, from wild dragons. Because dragons are magical creatures, and magic calls to magic. When Drogon and Rhaegal and Viserion were born, something changed in the world. Dragon eggs that have been petrified for centuries start hatching. Not many. Not enough to reshape the world, but enough to be dangerous. Wild dragons with no riders, no control, no purpose except to hunt and burn. Daenerys has to hunt them. Has to track down these wild dragons and either tame them or kill them before they destroy villages. It is dangerous work. One of the wild dragons, a massive gray beast, fights Drogon above the Reach. The battle lasts hours. When it is over, Drogon is scarred, and the Grey Dragon is dead. Daenerys understands that dragons are weapons, but they are also responsibilities. They are not invincible. They can be killed. And she has to be careful how she uses them, or she will become exactly what her father was. A mad monarch who burns first and thinks later. Robb faces different problems in the north. The wildlings are coming south, not to attack, to escape, because something is happening beyond the wall. The dead are rising, the White Walkers are waking, and the Night's Watch is undermanned and unprepared. Jon Snow sends ravens, desperate ravens begging for help. The dead are coming. The others are real. The long night is returning, but no one in the south believes it. They think the Night's Watch is exaggerating, trying to get more funding, more men, more attention. They do not understand that the threat is real and existential. But Robb believes, because Jon is his brother, because the North remembers the stories, because winter is coming and it is not just a saying. It is a warning. He sends men to the wall, reinforces Castle Black, prepares the North for siege, and he tells Daenerys that her dragons will be needed not against armies of men, but against armies of the dead. Daenerys does not understand at first, does not believe in White Walkers and Whites and the Night King, but Robb takes her to the wall, shows her the frozen wasteland beyond, the cold that goes on forever, the blue eyes watching from the shadows. She sees the dead walk, sees a white attack and only stop when her dragons burn it, and she understands. The real war is not between Stark and Lannister. not between north and south. The real war is between the living and the dead. She brings all 3 dragons north, positions them along the wall, begins training them to fight in coordinated attacks, because 1 dragon can destroy an army. But 3 dragons working together can destroy a continent. The dragons are weapons, but they are her children too, and she will not waste them on southern politics when the real threat comes from the north. The Night King comes. The army of the dead marches on the wall. 100,000 wights, giants and mammoths and ice spiders. The Night King himself rides a dead dragon, not one of Daenerys's. A different dragon. An older dragon. A dragon that died centuries ago and was raised by the Night King's magic. The Battle of the Wall is apocalyptic. The Night's Watch fights alongside Northern soldiers and Dothraki screamers, and Unsullied that Daenerys finally acquired from Slaver's Bay. Robb leads the defense from Castle Black. Daenerys flies overhead on Drogon, with Rhaegal and Viserion flanking her. The dragons burn wights by the thousands, rivers of fire washing across the frozen battlefield. But the dead keep coming, keep rising, keep marching. The Night King targets Daenerys, sees her as the greatest threat. His dead dragon fights Drogon in the sky. Ice and fire, death and life. The battle is terrible and beautiful. Drogon is faster, younger, more aggressive. But the dead dragon does not feel pain, does not tire, does not stop. It fights until Daenerys and Drogon manage to rip its wings off and send it plummeting to the earth below. But the victory is costly. Drogon is wounded. Daenerys is wounded. She crashes on the battlefield surrounded by wights. Robb fights his way to her with the Greatjon and 100 northern soldiers. They form a shield wall around the Dragon Queen while she recovers, while Drogon regains his strength. And they hold against impossible odds, because that is what the North does. They endure. The Night King himself enters the battle. He walks through fire without burning, cuts down men with his ice sword, heads for Daenerys because killing her kills the dragons. But Jon Snow intercepts him. Jon has Longclaw, Valyrian steel forged by the Starks centuries ago. And Jon is a warrior trained by Ned Stark, trained by the Night's Watch, trained by war. The duel between Jon and the Night King is legendary. It lasts minutes but feels like hours. Jon is wounded multiple times. The cold from the Night King's presence makes his limbs sluggish, but Jon fights through it, fights with everything Ned Stark taught him about honor and duty. And when the Night King raises his sword for the killing blow, Jon dodges and drives Longclaw through the Night King's chest. The Night King shatters, explodes into shards of ice, and every wight he raised collapses. Every White Walker he created shatters. The army of the dead falls in an instant. The Battle of the Wall is won, but the cost is terrible. Half the Northern army is dead. Thousands of Night's Watch brothers. The Greatjon dies holding the gate. Edmure Tully dies defending the wounded. Even Grey Wind is killed, Robb's dire wolf, torn apart by wights before Robb can reach him. The victory is real, but it tastes like ash. Robb holds his dying direwolf. Grey Wind has been with him since he was a boy, has fought beside him in every battle. And now Grey Wind is gone. Robb understands what the victory cost, understands that winning is not the same as surviving. Daenerys burns the dead, all of them, friend and enemy alike. The pyres burn for days. The smoke is visible from White Harbor. The entire North mourns. But they also celebrate, because they won. The living defeated the dead. The long night has ended. Winter has been survived. The realm settles into an uneasy peace. The North is independent. The South is unified under Daenerys. The wall is rebuilt. The Night's Watch is reformed with volunteers, not criminals. The threat of the White Walkers is over, but the scars remain. Robb and Daenerys rule their respective kingdoms. They see each other a few times a year, for councils, for visits, for the raising of their children. They have 3 children total. Eddard, their eldest son, Lyanna, their daughter, named for Robb's aunt, and Rhaegar, their youngest son, named for Daenerys' brother. The children are the future, the bridge between ice and fire. But Robb and Daenerys never fall in love. They respect each other, trust each other. But love is not part of their marriage. It is a partnership built on political necessity, on dragons and war and mutual survival. That is enough. It has to be enough. Years later, when their children are grown, Robb and Daenerys meet one final time. They are both middle-aged now. Gray hair, scars, the weight of ruling for decades. They sit in the Godswood at Winterfell and talk about what might have been, if they had met differently. If they had chosen each other rather than being chosen for each other by Varys and circumstance. Daenerys says she is glad they married, glad they allied, because together they achieved something impossible. They united Westeros without destroying it. They defeated the White Walkers. They gave their children a world worth living in. That is more than most rulers accomplish. Robb agrees. He tells her that honor is not weakness, that keeping oaths matters, that the alliance between Stark and Targaryen proved that ice and fire do not have to destroy each other. They can coexist, can build something new. The dragons are old now. Drogon is massive. Rhaegal and Viserion are only slightly smaller. They perch on the walls of Winterfell like ancient gods, like the promises of magic and power that the world thought was lost forever. And when Daenerys flies home to King's Landing, the dragons light the sky with fire. That is the ending. That is what might have been. If Varys had connected two young rulers separated by an ocean. If Robb had never met Talisa. If Daenerys had sailed west instead of east. If the alliance had formed before the Red Wedding could destroy everything. The king in the north and the mother of dragons. Ice and fire. Stark and Targaryen. The song that should have been sung. That is our theory. What if Daenerys married Robb Stark? The realm would have been united not through conquest, but through alliance. The North would have its independence. The dragons would have returned to Westeros before the White Walkers could destroy everything, and two teenage rulers would have forged a partnership that lasted long enough to matter bad. It would not have been a love story, but it would have been a story of duty and honor, and keeping oaths when keeping oaths costs everything. And in Game of Thrones, that might be the most romantic thing of all. If you enjoyed this exploration, leave a like and tell us in the comments. Should Daenerys and Robb have met? Would the alliance have worked? Or was the Red Wedding always inevitable no matter what choices they made? Winter came, but ice and fire together were strong enough to survive it. That has to mean something. That has to matter. The song of ice and fire, not sung by Jon Snow, but by Robb Stark and Daenerys Targaryen, by two rulers who should have been enemies but chose alliance instead, by the king in the north and the mother of dragons. That is the ending. That is the theory. That is what might have been if someone had just connected the pieces before time ran out.